As a writer, do you still write everything from scratch, or do you take original thought, place it into an AI program, and then refine? Because you have a background in journalism, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer to that is it depends.
I thought you were going to say it was classified.
It's classified. I would say most writers stay away from ChatGPT, Claude, all those.
Yeah.
If there's like occasionally like a brand will come reach out to me and they'll be like, "Hey, we love your writing. We want you to do like SEO." Not like Tamron. Like I write for Tamron, but that's all like from scratch. All of my own writing is from scratch.
Right.
But like if a brand that like there's like a construction brand that's like, "Hey, I really want to like improve my SEO," I'll just like literally set them up with like a portal and be like, "This is what you should do." Like don't waste your time because you just need to crank out like hundreds of articles because of just the way SEO is today. But not like I'm writing an article for Tamron right now, and I literally do everything from scratch.
Right on. How did your move go? I was saying before we pressed record that last time your backdrop was super rustic. It was like somebody could have burst through the door at any moment, having pounds of fur skins and hides on their back.
Yeah.
And you've moved to a more contemporary condominium now. Has your move gone well?
Yeah, move went well.
Where'd you move from?
Across town.
Oh, okay. So it's not as elaborate. It's not Oregon Trail style.
No, I went from renting to owning. So
congratulations.
That's the only difference. Thanks.
That's a big deal.
Nice. Congrats.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Now
good for you.
Now when it's all messed up, it's my fault.
Yeah.
That's right.
You should have done it from your bunk bed in the background. The interview.
Yeah. We could have.
PJs.
He's like kicking his feet up in the background like a sleepover.
Yeah.
Okay. Down to business. Dalton, you've been on before. It was a pleasure and appreciate you continuing to listen to the show. You didn't just one and done it because you reached out to our Instagram and you said, I'm paraphrasing and you can correct me, something along the lines of, we did an episode about, you felt that our discussion on tactics for outbound, gaining clients with outbound tactics was pretty spot on, but that we missed the mark. Dang it, Aaron, we missed the mark on how to use socials for inbound better. And Dalton is one of few people that I can maybe count on one hand that reaches out and says, I think you left more meat on the bone in this area. I'm like, oh man, I said it last time, but I respect the hell out of that. I don't mean to embarrass you, but I wish that there was more of that in this community, because I think, especially if you have a level of humility and you absorb that and you look at it, you could potentially improve a lot quicker and maybe identify some blind spots. So I'll stop talking. Did I kind of get that right? What do you think?
Yeah. So like when I went through that episode, I think it was like 4 episodes ago or so, maybe 5.
Okay.
I thought it was a really good episode. But yeah, it was like, I felt like everything you guys covered was like how to pitch an idea instead of like how to create like a system or to create something so people come to you. And I think there's like a really big difference there. And I was like, hey, like, so like, that's why I reached out, is because I was just like, I think there's a really big chunk of like people need to be investing in ways and areas to actually have stuff be coming to them and not just be like pitching a brand of like, hey, I have this thing and you should like pay me money to do it.
Yeah, it was the episode, I believe, September 15th. I searched it as you were speaking. How to balance creating for art and business as a photographer. I think it was in there somewhere. But yeah, I mean, that's everyone's dream, is to get to a place where it's mostly inbound. Where do you want to start? You mentioned, I think a big keyword with you has been systems over the last episode in 10 minutes, I guess we'll call it now. I guess the theme is how people can build better systems. Because yeah, we want, as photographers who are interested, if you're listening and you're interested in making a little bit of income, a ton of income or more, or whatever, we're interested in how can I be smart and let more come to me as opposed to running around everywhere looking.
Yeah. I think in the dreamy world, right? We'd all be like a massive influencer, and like I think about people with like accounts with like millions of subscribers, or anything of that sort. And I'd say like they probably have an onslaught of inbound, but then you get somebody that's like has a very modest amount of social following, and you're going to be like, they may not even get anything. And so I think there's like a key difference of like, we could break it out through like three different categories of like a big creator, a medium creator, and a small creator, and look at it only through social media, or we can look at it through other avenues as well, and not just social media. Kind of leave that up to you guys. What are you looking for?
Sure. I mean, I'm going to let the big dog make that decision on the other end, because I've talked a lot. One thing I will say before he makes that decision of where we're going to go is like, I know creators with millions of a million subscribers, and they get like no inbound, and I wonder like why or how. Yeah, I think it's few and far between. I'm not trying to be the antithesis to what you just said, but I have seen it happen where, maybe they're like so niche or something that. I mean, I really don't know. I'm speculating because as I'm saying that, I'm thinking, well, if you're super niche, wouldn't it be even easier to get just like tons of inbound? But no, I know creators that are that big. And then I know small creators where they are somehow getting a lot of inbound, and it's just it's strange. Those are probably outliers, but I wonder why that happens. We can talk about that later. Aaron, how do you want to go through this?
Yeah, let's start with the smaller creator, I think.
In which medium?
Social media, I suppose.
Instagram. Okay. Yeah. So I think, like really when it comes down to what I think about like building a system for social media, it's like looking at ways to have things create, and you're creating for the attraction of the other. And so like essentially it's like you're going to be creating content, photos, things of that sort, to be attracting the potential businesses that will be hiring you. And so if you're like, so like Aaron with cabins, it's like you're putting out your cabin content so that you're getting cabins that would potentially reach out to you. And then you slowly build that portfolio. And like, that's where you guys were talking about, like you're building this thing and then you're sharing it and letting people know that you exist, and like saying like, hey, I could shoot this. But if you kind of like take that a little bit of a step further, and if you stay solely on social media, you're kind of going to be looking at just adding different platforms and kind of growing in that manner. But I think really the secret sauce comes down to like kind of expanding beyond a single platform or beyond social media in general. Mm-hmm. And so like to like give you an example of like you brought up blogs earlier, or like writing process, Seth. So like what I could say is like this past weekend, I got like an inbound message from somebody that read my blog and then kind of went from there. And so I'm kind of like going all over the place. So sorry to not keep that super precise, but essentially like as a smaller creator, it's like you just need a lot of shots on goal to be able to let people know that you exist. And you don't need a large following, but what you need is for people to know that you are available for hire without being like, hey, you need to hire me. Because if you're just selling, people aren't that interested in like who you are or what you're doing, because they're like, look, people are just here to sell. But if you are, posting a bunch of, like cabin porn, people are going to be stoked on it, that are in that niche, and then slowly be like, oh, hey, like maybe I can hire this person. And so I think the difference is how you position yourself and how you interact with those people. And so like, for example, this looks like outbound, but it's really outbound for the potential of inbound. And so it's like you get a new follower and you see that they have cabins, like they're an Airbnb host. So then it'd just be like, you see that they followed you, you just message them and be like, hey, so saw your cabins look awesome. and you're not even selling. You're just like, hey, like genuinely you like the way their cabin looked, and you just compliment their cabin. And then they go, hey, like, thanks. And then you kind of like set up this system of reminders for yourself to slowly just like go back and say hi, or drop into like their DMs, or just arrive on their comments or something like that, just so you kind of like stay top of mind. Because not every company needs to hire a photographer every month, or some brands are literally, every like twice a year or once a year. And so it's really like the cadence that the brand has. It's like you have to have a bunch of pokers in the fire so that they can reach out to you when they're ready. And so it's really just about staying top of mind, so that you can get that inbound request when it comes up. And so what I would say is, like, no matter what size you are, and so I think this works actually best with small people, like small creators, because it doesn't feel so like in your face. And I'm saying this from a position of, I've been on the other side. I used to run accounts for large publications. And so like I got a lot of inbound messages, and like the ones that would always attract my attention the most were the ones that were just consistent, and it doesn't have to be personal. Like, it can still be a copy and paste, but it doesn't, like, when you're copy and pasting, like it's like, hey, I really like this XYZ, and so the focus would be, it's an outreach that's not a sale. And so that eventually leads to inbound messages. So in a lot of ways that sounds very meta. So does that land, or does that miss?
You're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, that if you're going to go in this example, the social media route, what you're putting out, your work needs to, hopefully, the work you put out hopefully gathers attraction from the niche or sub niches that you're in, and then inbound in terms of like follows or a message, or even like a like on a photo or a comment, and then it heads towards you needing to do the outbound.
Yeah, but the difference is, so you guys were always talking about like pitching. So it's like, I'll give you some clear-cut examples. So like some pitching examples are like, I have this trip to Baja coming up. I reached out to everyone under the sun that would fit for the job. And it's like, hey, I have this thing. And you're kind of just like, in a way, you're like this annoying person just saying like, I have this thing, pay me money and I'll create something epic for you. And that's like outbound in general. And then there's this other side to where like you're building a system of, it's quote unquote outbound, but it's just essentially staying in contact so people reach out to you. And so like what I mean by that is, you find like an art director. Say like, I'll just say this because it's something I'm working on. So like for the last year, I've been talking with one of the producers at Red Bull, and literally I just send him a message every 2 weeks of, hey, saw this, thought you might like it. And it is outbound, but he now opens up every single one of my emails, and he literally reached out to me, I think 2 weeks ago, and was like, hey, I have this question and I know you're the guy that can answer it. And then we went through it, we talked, and then he was like, hey, by the way, if you ever need a connection at Red Bull, like, I'm not the person that you, like, he was like, I'll make the intro for you. Just because his thing of where he works doesn't fit what I shoot. But like, that's kind of like what I was hoping for. And so now it's like, he's willing to make any intro at Red Bull when the time comes that I need or want it.
So relationships.
You're suggesting
relationships.
Yeah.
So
you're suggesting hundreds of micro subtle outbounds that hopefully transfer into inbound repeatedly.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And I can say like that system itself works really well. And like, because if you start doing enough of those, it starts to relate to inbound messaging. And so you say you do that, and it doesn't even have to be like what it could be is a really big thing is like people go onto large creator accounts and just drop in the comments every single day. And by posting in those comments, somebody will read it and then come follow you and maybe hire you. So like that's like another strategy, because then, you know, like somebody's comments say like you go onto like Outside Magazine, like, you know, their socials are getting hundreds of comments every time. So they're starting a dialogue. So if you're in there having that conversation, that dialogue, you're staying there top of mind. So people are able to transfer it into inbound.
Right. And where does consistently posting land with all of this? Because, you know, I think we're very much, people know this by now, like, you know, the mental side of this industry, like we advise people like to really limit if they can't help themselves, or to have much more intent with the time they're spending just for their own clarity and peace of mind. You know, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I would say if you're talking about just like posting and getting a posting cadence, uh, get something that you can schedule posts. Because like a prime example is this morning I sat down and I was able to schedule I think 7 posts. So it's just like, and there's not that big of a difference between. I think people. Well, there's 2 things. I think people try to live on social media and you don't need to. I think
What do
that's
you
like
mean? What do you mean by that?
like social media is like an easy way to get distracted.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you know, if you have like a posting, like a scheduler, and there's tons out there for like maybe $20 a month or something like that. And you can just use those and then you don't even have to like get distracted on the platforms. And like you could for sure schedule at least 3 to 4 posts in an hour. And so say on Monday, you schedule 3 or 4 posts for the week. And then from there, you just spent, you know, say you spend an hour a day right now on social media, just flip that hour to like commenting and connecting with people. And
Yeah.
then you'll end up with an inbound message.
So in that sense, are you saying that the posting is just to show that you are still freshly working on new projects to those who may be watching, and the potential engagement doesn't even really matter?
Yeah, I think unless you're trying to be an influencer,
Oh
it
God.
really doesn't matter. Like if you're just like if you're trying to be a working photographer, like the number of followers you have really doesn't matter to like a producer.
So I guess
like
where people get lost is, okay, I'm not trying to grow I'm not necessarily like trying to grow a following as my primary goal. I am not trying to get thousands of views by being super viral. I'm just trying to get work out there. Okay, like, is this the best use of my time then? I mean, like, in other words, why am I doing this? Could you maybe help define that better for people?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first stage to think about is like, how much do you really need to post? Because really, all you're trying to do is get people to your profile to find out whether or not they want to work with you. Like you posting really doesn't necessarily matter that much as long as you have enough on your grid that showcases the work that you have and that you're good at. And so I would say like that's really the first place I would start is like recognize how much work you actually need out there in the world. And then from there, just focus on like making those connections and figuring out who's going to hire you and talk with those people.
Right.
Like you're when you're posting, like sure, if you look at the larger accounts, majority of them are probably posting every day or posting 3 days a week, somewhere in there. But like that's most likely because they're becoming an influencer. If you're not an influencer, it it doesn't matter. So like a prime example is like I had a meeting with Garmin. Like the producer of Garmin did not care about my social following. Like flat out, like the guy does not care about any of those things. the only thing he cared about was my work, and he asked me about past jobs and like pulled up my portfolio, and like we went through all of my work. And
Via
so,
Instagram, is that where that went through?
no, that was all through email, but we even connected over email. I don't know how that actually, I did a cold email outreach to him, and he didn't open it for 4 months, and then he responded after 4 months.
Nice.
So, but I think for like the inbound, it's like you have to put yourself out there to have the inbound come in. But I think the key is like we get obsessed with this whole like you have to post, you have to do all of those things, but like that's not the reality. Like, and I'm saying that from the standpoint of like if you want to get hired as a photographer, not as like a social media creator, but as a working photographer, you have to remember like social media is just marketing. And so it's like, I think a really good example of this is like Will Saunders. If you look up his social, he used to go and shoot one project, and then he would do like 3 posts across his grid. He changed up about a year ago, but he would post 3 across his grid, and then he wouldn't post again until he had another assignment. And so like maybe like 2 or 3 months would go by. But it's like the dude is literally just like crushing work. And because he sees social media like as a portfolio that he shares. And so it's really, but like if you actually look at how much he's like engaging with the community, like Will's like a super engaged person in the community. And so it's like, he's like super fun to hang out with. He's enjoyable to talk with. And I mean, like there's been a time where I was like, hey, I'm about to leave on an expedition. Like, I need a little bit of advice. And I, shot him a text message. He just like responds immediately, and so it's like when you really think about like some of the most successful working creators that I know, they're not necessarily big on social media because they're using it to connect with people, but they're not like stuck in that rat race of like, I have to post, I have to do these things. And so I think it's like that reframe, which then allows for the inbound to come in. And the way that inbound is coming in is because you're participating in the community and just having conversations. And then as the conversations develop, then you are actually able to get hired or work on bigger projects.
It's interesting, if I may, and I'm not being cantankerous or fighting back. But let's have a debate. Let's discuss.
What was that word? I almost spit out my club soda.
Cantankerous. Relationships, personality, extroverted, introverted, what have you. You can't fake, to me, you can't really fake connection. You can't fake good personality. You can try. You could be a psychopath and be able to do it. But if we just boil it down, like having these conversations, there has to be a true desire to want to connect with whomever you're connecting with. Or I feel like I've ever made small talk with someone in an elevator and you're like, this is the last thing I want to do. Like it's hard to really fake it, I think. And I'm curious. I'm just curious in terms of we only have so many calories or hours in the day to spend on this kind of stuff. And we want to be as efficient as possible. Is outreach with a direct desire and a transparent sort of, hey, this is what I can offer, take it or leave it. Then if we have a good conversation or it's not the right time or we want to circle back after the new year or whatever it may be, we mark that stuff on our calendars and we do that versus trying to have thousands and thousands of conversations with a bunch of different people in the hope that like, I don't know if there's yeses out there or no's out there or 4 months someone's going to write me or 6 months someone's going to write me. All that stuff is good if it shows up. But at the same time, I need to move a little bit quicker and know, yep, not interested, didn't open my email, moving on. Like I need work sooner than later versus I'm just going to present as a really nice open guy and completely available to work without ever asking for the date, like I'm going to present myself in a way that maybe the date will come and ask me out, but ultimately maybe I have to be the one that's like asking people out so I can move forward with my life.
Yeah. So I think it's required to do outreach, but I think it's about building other things that create inbound so that the outbound can be limited or the outbound can be well received, or guarantees that it gets opened. Like the guy at Red Bull, the producer, he opens up and responds to every email within 24 hours. The guy at Garmin, he now responds within 48 hours of every time I send him an email. So I think when you're kind of showing up on different platforms or email or things of that sort, like sure, it may start as an outbound pitch, but if you only send a pitch, get a no, and then that's it, like you're doing yourself a disservice. And so like Aaron, you're talking about like trying to be efficient with your time. Like would be more efficient would just be to like, you got to know, then the next month, like for whatever the client was, you can just be like, hey, I saw this that was relevant to you. Like, I hope you're doing well, and then, the next month you reach out again with another email that's like, hey, we wrapped up that project. I know you weren't a part of it, but I wanted to share, here's it. And then, and you just do that, once a month with every single potential client. And maybe it takes a year or 2 years, but then all of a sudden you're like, hey, actually, we need to hire you. And then they hit you up and then you get that inbound message. And I think that's the key of like what I'm trying to get at. Like if you're focused solely on social media, I think it is like staying in the DM, staying in the comments, having those conversations. If you open it up to like pitching through email, like it's about staying consistent with like small subtle touches of like, like this last year, like I did 2 projects for Buff. And so it's like, I have like thank you cards that are just like, I'm sending them all Christmas cards of just like, hey, thanks, and here's like a Starbucks gift card. And it's outbound, but I know that little touches like that will eventually lead to inbound. And so it's like all those like small deposits of just like being human. And it doesn't have to be fake, it's just like at a certain point, like there is a business relationship and you're like, it's a business relationship. You're interacting with that. You're like, hey, I enjoyed working with you. Hey, it was really fun to do this. Or, hey, I saw that you guys created this cool campaign. Like that looked, it would have been fun to be on that set, or like say something of that sort that is like complimenting who and what they're doing that reminds them that you exist. Because at the end of the day, like there's so many brands that are getting just hundreds of pitches a day that like, if you're one of those people who are just constantly pitching, yes, you may be getting work in the long run because you pitched enough people, but it's way easier to just maintain, maybe 50 to 75 relationships that like you keep in a spreadsheet and that you just have casual conversations with. And then that, maybe the bottom 25 is like moving around all the time. But like, that's like where have like this roster of potential clients. And I think that maybe like what Aaron, like what you're trying to say is like getting work like tomorrow, like to build up a system of inbound, it doesn't happen tomorrow. Like if you want work tomorrow, like that's outbound.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want to create something that leads to inbound, it's like I said, like over the weekend, I got an inbound request through my blog. It's like, I honestly thought the blog was dead and nobody read it. Like, it's like, I put out a newsletter, and that attracts people to like the newest blog, but like, I mean, I don't really get that many views anymore with the way Google's updated. But like over this weekend, a guy was like, "Hey, I love this article, and these photos are exactly what we want." And then he scheduled a call for like next Tuesday.
Yeah, that stuff is good. And that, I mean, even with my website alone, that's pretty much untouched. And the way it is, I will get an occasional inquiry through that. So totally. And those are all, sometimes I feel like they're fake, but no, they haven't been. Or it's people that want to improve my SEO.
It's me.
But
I'm trying to boost your confidence.
Yeah. I guess like I'm just trying to tease this out too for my own understanding. So
Yeah.
That's why I'm arguing with you, so we can get to the juice of it. So, I think you mentioned this a second ago, is that you do mention, like Seth knows, I often compare like any relationship to like the dating world. So if the client's the woman that I'm trying to pursue, and I'm just like, hey, I love that photo you took. Hey, cool, you went to that waterfall? I've been there. And I'm never like, hey, do you want to go out? Someone else is going to ask her out. Right. So is there an intention somewhere early on where it's like, hey, no pressure, but look at my portfolio. Like, this is the stuff I do. It would be a dream to work with you one day. Anyways, cool sundress you're wearing. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, I think it's pretty obvious that you want work. Like if you're, your tagline of like, not your tagline, but like your signature at the bottom says photographer, and you're reaching out to a photo editor. It's like, it's pretty obvious that you want to work with them. Like, I don't think you need to say like at the end of every email, would love to work with you sometime. It's like, they know that. Like, they know that's why you're reaching out. And so I do think you have to like kind of set yourself up in the beginning. And then, maybe every 6 months when you come up with a new project, like pitch them on a new project, even if they're going to say no, but just so that they keep top of mind. But like, I think it's important not to beat it down their neck of like, I want to work with you. And it's just like, I'm paying attention to what you all are doing. You're doing a good job. This is what we could do better. Or like, like provide suggestions too.
Yeah.
Like I give you an example of like, last year I worked for Rivian, and then this year, they didn't rehire me, which makes sense because of what they went and shot. Like, they shot something that like I don't shoot that type of work, but like their DP used a shutter speed that just made the LED headlights flash, and so it's like a super niche thing, but it's like vehicles that have LED lights. Like, if you're doing video, it flashes. And so it's
annoying.
like, it's super annoying. And you think about like a high-end production for Rivian.
Yeah.
I really literally just like, obviously like this kind of a dick move, but I was just like, hey, like, did you guys not, like, how'd you not catch this? This is like a broadcast piece.
Yeah.
Like, I just like asked, I was like, hey, like, what went on? Like, why did you guys not catch this?
I even bought anti-flicker for an Airbnb shoot where the LED lights were flickering through a video for $150 in my own pocket because it pissed me off so much.
I didn't know this. I didn't know that LEDs flickered and would show up in footage.
It's awful.
What shutter speed will they flicker at?
So on your Sony, you can turn on, I don't know if you've ever seen the variable shutter speed. So it really goes down by like decimal points instead of big jumps. And that sometimes can help. You got to really like check it. And it'll slow, like it's like a strobe. So it'll slow like the flicker down, and you just keep going until it's matching the actual flicker. And then it fixes it. And there are programs that help it. It's not necessarily perfect, but it does use AI to like readjust the shutter speed or something. I'm not sure. I made that up, but how it works, I don't know. But it's called anti-flicker, and it's a program that processes your video and then tries to fix it the best that it can. But it can be a ruiner, like a video ruiner for sure. And I'm, like you're saying, I'm very surprised that
I learned something.
Rivian did not care about that or catch it.
Never buying a truck of theirs.
I want one. You've driven them?
Yeah. Last year I did their fall editorial campaign, and it was
So cool.
freaking rad. We got literally we were given one for a week and just told to go capture fall colors through like Western California.
Amazing.
Or sorry, Northern California.
They didn't want to let you keep it.
I mean, I wish.
Damn.
I'm gonna go buy one and then return it and be like, I saw in the commercial the LEDs flickered. How come mine isn't?
You should. You guys should hire Dalton. He knows about the flicker.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I'm gonna weigh in here just what you guys were chatting about. I wrote some notes. I think Dalton brought up, if you need work tomorrow, pitch. Like the sense of urgency, I think, makes sense, especially when, for example, it could be like, I'm going to, what did you say, Baja or the Bahamas? Would you be interested in me bringing along your product or whatever? I mean, because in that sense, your trip is very unique, and perhaps it's coming up in a couple months. You don't necessarily have time to play the long game in that sense if you want a very specific product to accompany you on that trip, and you don't really have a rotating Excel spreadsheet of clients already, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like a prime example is like Aquatech. I've never been able to connect with them, and I've tried to connect with them so many ways. And this project that Kev coming up, it's like we're doing a lot with like in the water with surf as well as wildlife, like under the water, so like ocean stuff. And like I tried to play the long game for 8 months and failed. Finally, I just literally picked up the phone and called them, and just called their headquarters and finally got a hold of somebody. I was like, what's going on? And they're like, we have 0 of your emails.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'm saying you like 15. Like, and they're like, we literally have 0. And then he looked and he was like, well, send me an email right now. And I sent him an email, and he was like, oh, it's in spam. And so then now I have a meeting with them next week.
That's funny.
And, it's just like, that's why. Like, so it's like you have to know that. That's why I think social media is really good for that, because you know that they got the comment. Whether they read it or not, it's different. But like, if it's an email, you don't really know.
You don't know. And in these
that
emails,
could be like the
they get
hard
a
one
lot.
with outbound.
So
Yeah.
I think what you're, I mean, another way to say what you're saying is, in a sense, take steps towards being real. Take steps towards having real relationships with clients and potential clients and people, versus just, hey, can you pay me to do photos? No? All right. Like, see you later. Can you pay me to do photos? No? All right. See you later. Is like, the no's not the end. Back to my analogy, you can still be friends. You can still develop a friendship. It doesn't mean you're dating right now, but if you see value in each other, you can still develop a relationship, a friendship, and like keep that going. And who knows what the future will bring. You're being closer to human and real, and appreciating their work, being able to comment on LEDs, being able to comment on comments, whatever it may be. You're being real, and out of the crowd, out of the people that are just, throwing spam comments, literally spam that might go anywhere. They might think of you in a time of need, where they're like, hey, that guy's always been solid. He has built up a sense of trustworthiness. He seems like a real person. Let's give it a try here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, overall, like that is the basis, I would say, to go from to building a grouping of inbound messages or inbound requests for work over 18 months, 24 months. But I would also, and then through outreach. But I also think there's a way, so like, yes to that. And then I think the other part that is really important to kind of touch on is building up another manner to get work flowing in that is not necessarily what you would expect. And so like what I mean by that is like, outside of those SEO people pitching you that they're going to get you number 1 on Google, like you said, like, oh, it feels really weird when like a brand like reaches out and feels almost fake, like on your website. I think it is about kind of establishing those longer potential for work to come in. And so that could be like a YouTube channel, that could be Instagram, that could be a newsletter, all sorts of different ways. I really think can work if you're playing the long game, because that's people that are going to essentially follow you or be interested in your work that would be coming into your network because of what you're creating. And so I think this is where there's like the difference. Like, so in that podcast that you guys talked about, it was like the difference between like creating artwork versus like kind of selling your soul to like the algorithm. And I think this leans towards the like creating art that's important because it fills up your soul. And then also like people are interested in that creation of artwork. And so as long as you kind of build up a body of work that has revenue potential, like that's like really important. And so what I mean by that revenue potential is like, if you're a working photographer and you want to just get hired by brands, then yes, the goal would be creating work that gets you hired to like have a day rate or something of that sort. But then there's also like you're building up a portfolio of really solid wildlife because maybe you sell wildlife prints or you do excursions, or like, what do you guys do in Alaska? Like a group trip to Alaska.
Yep.
So it's like, the potential for things like that. And I think that's like all of those have revenue opportunities that are only coming inbound because of the artwork that you're creating.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like if we pitch an Alaska trip and people go to Aaron and I's page, they can see that like we have a track record of hopefully tasteful wildlife photos.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think what ends up happening to a lot of people in the beginning is, okay, I'm going to create all these things you described. I'm going to create a newsletter. I'm going to create work that embodies the kind of brand work that I want to do. And there's just this big war chest that's built and all this time and effort. But people forget, hey, I'm new. I have no clients. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I can't do the build it and they will come. I can't Field of Dreams it. I have to, in the beginning, I need to advertise beyond just sending things out into the void. Right? I think
Exactly.
your portfolio is your home base. It's kind of your check mark that you are capable or that you've done similar projects, etc. And there's lots of places where that portfolio can live, right? Your Instagram, your website, your newsletter is a portfolio in a sense, etc. I think what's interesting too, just rewinding a bit when you were talking about, keeping people in your contact list up to date with what you're working on. It gave me the analogy of kind of treating those people like subscribers to you, whether they like mentally click subscribe to you or not. You keeping them in the loop is manually feeding them and updating them on your capabilities, your growth, etc. So I think that's an interesting take, is to treat your contacts as subscribers and just manually put stuff out to them via email or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, because you don't like. It depends on what type of work you want to do. Like I come from the commercial and editorial space, so it's like I'm looking to get an assignment, and so because of that, it's like I don't need that many. So like I think if you have a Rolodex of, call it 50 to 100, like I'm probably only doing 20 shoots a year. And so when you really think about it, you're like, okay, I'm doing maybe 20 shoots a year. Like if I had 100 people try to hire me, I wouldn't have the capacity. And so it's like you need more than what you can shoot. But if you're, if you are trying to do like a list of like 500, it's not going to work. Like Aaron, going back to like what you said earlier, like you have to realize like how much bandwidth you really have. So there's like a practicality of like, how many people can you actually stay up with, and how many people are actually worthwhile of keeping up with. And then, because like maybe you have a list of 500 for your newsletter, and that's great, or it's larger, and those are all potential clients. Maybe you've gone and mined their information and added them to it, which is illegal, I think, but people do it. And so it's just like there's a certain aspect where it's kind of like you need to let people know that you exist. You need to let them know that you can get hired. But if all you're trying to do is sell them on things, they're not going to be interested. And so, it's like sharing your art in a way that is like truly sharing your art. And then for the key people that A, you think will hire you, and B, that you want to be hired by, like really hone in on, I would say between 50 and 100. Like I would not go any more than that. Like I think 50 is enough. And then once you get like really settled into your career and actually start getting people, like 25's actually probably good enough.
Yeah, Dalton, you made a light bulb go off just in terms of a thought or a moment to explain to people, is that I'm coming from the lens, just to give context, of I have a full-time job that's not photography. So if you're new here, I'm not trying to get tons and tons of work to pay bills and make things happen. So I guess my approach is probably a little bit different, of like, I don't really want to spend a whole bunch of time having a whole bunch of conversations with a whole bunch of different people, hoping that one day they'll reach out to me. I'm more of like, let's work hard and fast, and let me get one client that I'm really psyched about and see that front to end, and then I'll move on from there. It's a very different lens than someone that's trying to do this full time. And if I was doing this full time, there would definitely be a ton of, I mean, I would get to the point where, like you're saying, I have as many clients as I could possibly handle, with some overlap and overflow, where I'm hopefully saying no to a few, not a ton, but hopefully saying no to a few, and circling back with a bunch of repeat work. So I think it is a different perspective for sure. And definitely catered to someone that's trying to really do this as much as they possibly can, and have all avenues funneling in every different way. You can't just do all outreach. You can't just have passive conversations with everyone. You have to do a little bit of everything and have a bunch of just funnels that are coming in. And then you're controlling the lever on that. So for me, my lever control is pretty minimal. I want one thing coming through at a time. I don't want to be overwhelmed with multiple things. Just throwing that out there.
That's important. It speaks to circumstance and perhaps personality. Like
Yeah.
you could even maybe go as far to say that perhaps Dalton is somebody who values long-lasting, deep, fostering relationships more than you. Perhaps your values are more, and based on circumstance, perhaps transparent. Sorry, not transparent. I'm not trying to say Dalton isn't. I'm trying to say that you're just more. What I'm saying is, I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve. I want work from you, and you're being succinct about it, and it's much more take it or leave it. And that's all shaped by your lifestyle, your current employment, your personality, and perhaps both methods vibe with the other end, with the person on the other end of the line, for better or for worse. And I think it is important, and I think we've covered this in this conversation, that it doesn't need to be an all or nothing where this is the right way to do it. No, that's not the right way to do it. I think it's based on what you're trying to do and what kind of personality you have, really. I mean, we already touched on a few things. Like if it's urgent, perhaps just be blunt.
Yeah.
Right. If you see yourself doing this for the next, for the remainder of your life, or for a good chunk of time, perhaps it's very useful to start those more passive conversations. Right. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of say that there's no, this is the way. No, that's the way. It's all very scenario driven.
Yeah, I think so. And like, I think, like Seth, I think you kind of hit that on the head of, I think there is a big difference in the approach. Like, yeah, so like Aaron, like knowing that you pretty much only want, one or two clients to come in at a time, that's vastly different.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the most I could probably handle in a single month would be four jobs.
Mhm.
And so like when you really think about what those productions would look like and things of that sort, it's like really challenging. And that would be like for short photo shoots,
Mhm.
but if like I'm going to get work for like a documentary, I may be gone on that doc for like 2 months. And so like for me, I have to develop really solid long-term relationships
Mhm.
so that a brand is willing to trust me because they may not even see a deliverable for 18 months. Like say they want like a branded film that ski season's coming up. So like say you're doing a branded ski film and you're shooting it this year, it's not coming out until next year. So like you have to like really think about building that trust, which is only done over a long duration of time. And like if you're new in the career and you are essentially new in the career and trying to be full time, like it really is like you have to pitch what you're capable of doing. You'll probably end up having to shoot a lot of spec work off the start, but then the key is to like be able to share and market it and stay in relationship with who you have so that other brands can be like, oh, this person was a really good DP. This person was a really good photographer or director. Maybe we'll ask them what their availability is coming this winter. Because like, I know like some brands that I've talked to, like I've maybe pitched them on stories and stuff for almost 2 years before getting a piece of work. And like, that's because I know that this is like the career I want to be in and I love it.
Mhm.
So it's like, I have no reason to leave. Um, and I've also found like it's way better just to play the long game.
Mhm.
And so I think that's like why inbound takes a long time because you're establishing the trust beforehand. The only time that I'd say like inbound is quick is if you've established yourself and maybe like have an agent or something like that, because then the agent is going to be doing a lot of the outreach for you. And like you have like more people telling the world how good you are. And so then you get work coming in.
Yeah. And if you're trying to fill a calendar with, you said 4 max, let's say 2 makes you happy per month, that's a lot of forward thinking month after month after month. You probably wouldn't want huge dry spells, even though that's part of the game sometimes and you catch up. But if you could have consistent work month after month after month for the foreseeable future, that's great. And to be able to keep that wheel turning, I think would be the ultimate goal, whether it's, again, outreach, inbound, outbound, whatever it may be, having a team reach out for you, whatever you can handle to create that situation of comfort and not just scrambling to make ends meet. And again, the privilege that I have is that it's not my full-time thing. So when I find a client, like I'm more of a monogamous photographer, if you will. Like if I find a client that we have a good relationship with, I'm like, I will do this with you for as long as you want to do this with me. And then I like kind of shut everything else off. If something comes in or whatever, like maybe I might pick up a thing, or maybe I give them like the crazy price and see if they bite on it. And if not, okay, like I still have my thing, but that's kind of that's my mindset in terms of life right now for me, So it's just different. And I think it's just important to understand that everyone has their way and their ability and their bandwidth to create, whether it's being on social media for hours a day or not, or taking multiple jobs per week, per month, whatever it may be, or you just want one paid thing per year and that makes you happy. And anything's kind of cool. But I guess a good point to this episode is if you are wanting something and it's not working, listen to some of the things that we've talked about, thinking about inbound, thinking about maybe I had to make my relationships a little bit better with all these people I want to work with versus just soliciting at their doorstep for my goods and services. Maybe I have to put in a little bit more effort in a different way to create this sort of foundation of who you are as a person, developing relationships along the way, being a cool person for these people. Because we all know we often, I mean, I gotta say, a lot of my work has come from clients that recommend me to other clients. Right. So it's like, hey, that guy was personable. He was honest. He did what he said he was going to do. He was on time. His price was reasonable. We recommend you to him. And it moves on from there. So I think working on those sort of relationships is a really important thing, and building up that sort of net behind you.
Yeah. I think that's like really well said, Aaron. Because at least for me, and like the goals for me to like stay employed and pay my bills, etc. Like, it really comes down to the ability to have enough potential clients on both that outbound list and inbound list to know that there's some sort of stability. But then there was one thing that you kind of said about like the ebb and flow of the career. I do think that ebb and flow is really important, because during those downtimes is like when you can shoot the spec work, or you can finish a lot of the personal projects that can feed that grouping of art that you guys talked about in the last podcast. And that grouping really fuels the next wave of potential clients. You know, that could be branching out into like a new industry or branching out in any other capacity. And that will start that quote unquote inbound for that new body of work that you're creating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, very well said. I think it's so interesting, just like, and I think listeners are fortunate that they get somebody who, hey, I'm doing this as my full-fledged source of income. Hey, puppy. And Aaron's like, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Aaron,
you both reached down as the dog barked. I'm like, who has puppies below their desk? It could be either of you. That's a good game show. Whose dog is it? Whose puppy barked? Oh, it was Dalton. For those of you who guessed Aaron, you fall into the pit of doom.
You're wrong.
You're wrong. It is usually your dog, though.
Yeah, lately they're tired now. That's because we've been filming right when I get home, so they're like ready to go.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
My dog's a good boy asleep.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a good pup.
Yeah. Mine's still a puppy, so give me a break, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I think, Aaron, I didn't know that you I thought you shot full time.
No, I don't. I'm a school counselor to a middle school, believe it or not.
Those poor children.
I know, but I love it. I just was explaining to someone, my brain is a brain that I love the variance in life and trying new things and having, I kind of like having photography out here as like a what if, and like a thing. I'm a searcher. I'm like what if I could make this a thing, but at the same time having the consistency and like I'm very grounded working in a school. It's very consistent. I've been there for 18 years. I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable there. I have benefits. I have health insurance, like all that stuff. The golden handcuffs keep me there, and it's nice. And it would take a lot to break me away from that, I think. But at the same time, I have summers off. I get out of school at around 3:30. I have a lot of opportunity to do this other stuff and plan with clients and plan times to do stuff on the side. So to me, it's a beautiful balance. To some, it might be too much or too much to undertake, whatever. I don't know. To me, it's like a fun balance of the artistic side and then the very grounded side. It does work. It does work.
I think for me, that's like, I'm like super impressed, because I think about, I think it was our last conversation, you talked about like pitching like a cabin for like a free stay kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh, like now in my mind, like, I'm like, oh, that's epic. Like
That
you
makes
just
more
offset
sense
your
now, huh?
It's like, well, it's just like you offset your vacation costs. Like, why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's just like, to me, like that's super rad. It's like, if for anybody in that capacity, like I think they should be doing that.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no reason if you have a skill set, you know, like you don't need to get, like you don't need compensation. The compensation could literally just be like it doesn't have to be a financial compensation.
Mhm.
And I think that's huge.
Not always. And sometimes Seth and I have talked about this too, in terms of pricing and feeling like you're being undercut or selling the farm because you need the job. I have the nice ability to be very firm with my pricing and not feel like I have to be like, okay, well, what is your budget? And I don't think I'm super expensive with things, but for example, this is a real time story. Just recently, through inbound, you'd be proud of me, but through a client, I was able to be approached by someone who has a beauty products. Nothing I've done before.
Oh,
But
brother, for your hair, for your
yeah, not my hair. It's not for me. Maybe I'll use
It
it.
looks great, man. You got like almost the middle part.
But
don't encourage him.
But Shampoo wants to do this really classy video on the narrative and the story behind it, like a 5-minute video. They sent me an example of what they wanted. A really professional video, probably a $50,000 video, honestly. And I was like, okay, when's this due by? They want it done by November 24th. This is just happening. It's November 10th. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not a professional crew. I could knock this out if you have some time. We're going to need multiple locations. Do you have the models? We have 2 cameras at a time. I have the sound. I have music licensing. We can do this, but if you want this good and quick, it's going to be expensive. And they're like, oh, wow, that's way out of my budget. And I was like, okay, hopefully we can work together some other time. But like, that's the nice part of being able to be like, hey, this is what it is. I still have my job that I have to go to every day. Like, this would have been a hassle. This would have been hard. This would have killed me in the next 2 weeks. But if I would have done it for a price, and
Yeah.
it
I mean,
is
if
what
you
it
already
is.
have a job, but another $50K sounds pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so that's the nice part of it.
I guess what the theme of this episode is too is Dalton, I guess, would suggest like keeping that person.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what I've worked on this past year. I know we didn't get to work together on this project, but let me know if you have anything else down the pipeline. I guess what I just said there is an example of passively checking in and also nudging at, I wouldn't mind work from you.
Yeah, and I like what Dalton said, and I could get better at this, is having a spreadsheet and putting that person's client contact, what happened last time we talked, what was the issue, or like whatever happened in a spreadsheet that I can reach up to when things are slow and be like, who can I reach out to? Because there's a really good chance 8 months from now, I completely forget that this even happened and forget to reach out. So I love that idea, and I'm probably going to start that myself to keep track of those things and these conversations where someone was interested, but maybe the budget didn't work out or the timing didn't work out, or now you know that your high price didn't work with this client. So maybe next time you want to do something a little more simple with a little bit more time, and you pitch them something for $1,000 that they can use for socials, and just do it in a day and be done with it. But you learn the person, you learn the client, you learn the information, and again, you're being more real, you're being empathetic, you're understanding who they are and what their business is about, and trying to make it work. If it works for you and it works for them, then it's a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the key takeaway. If you're like, I think on both sides, whether like with you, Aaron, if it would be like a little lull that you're like, hey, like it'd be nice to get an inbound client, or like to just to have a client at this point in time. I think it would be really good to have that spreadsheet, be able to reach out. And then if you're like going full fledged and you're really trying to just always be booked, etc., like having a list of potential clients is quite key. The way I do, I have 2 things. One, Aaron, why would you not just follow up and be like, hey, with your short timeline, would you be willing, like, we can't reach this, but we could do, like, we can't do X, but we could do Y.
I
Like,
did.
did you
We'll see
you
if I
did?
get an email back. Her email was very kind in terms of like, "Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to think about this. It's just not within our budget right now. I understand totally that video is complicated, blah, 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 blah." So what I responded was like, "I totally understand. I have a question. Do you have a sense of what your budget could be? There's a million ways to do a million different jobs with any kind of budget. If you can give me an idea of what you have for this project, I can come back with some ideas in terms of what I think would be the best value for that amount of money." So that was like my kind of response to it. Whether she's interested or was completely offended by my number, I'm not sure, but we'll see. And it was cordial, it was back and forth. And again, maybe the video that she wanted, like it was a complicated video, and there's 2 weeks, and there's basically no possible way that I would get that done without taking off work. So that was part of it. Really adjusting my schedule and making it happen, but like really pushing. And I would need the time, and I would want it to be paid for. But if she were to say like, my upper limit's $1,000, $1,500, and then I can say, is that worth like a Sunday afternoon for me to go and shoot and do an interview with her and put it together? Yeah. Okay. Do you want to do that? You want to have something? Sure. Or no. No, thank you. I really want that big thing. And I'll say like, good luck in 14 days figuring that out.
Yeah.
You could have just said, "Yeah, I can do that," and then gone and bought some VO3 credits, charged like 15 grand, and made like a 15,000% markup.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So
I mean,
you're the
Coca-Cola
sucker.
did a commercial. Why can't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's true.
So
I got it all. I got all the people together, and I went to all these locations, and I didn't even leave my house. So
Yeah.
that'll be 15 grand. I can do it for 15,000. It's 250 a month. It seems like so. You do the math on that on those margins.
Yeah. Not bad.
that's funny. No, I haven't even looked at VO how much it costs.
Well, I Googled it as we were talking because I was trying to be funny and ridiculous and saying Aaron could have just pitched way less, but then had a pretty good markup. It says cost per second is 75 cents per second. There's quality mode that uses 400 credits per second. I don't really know what I'm looking at.
Wow.
Subscription
4K versus 10K, like 1080p or something.
Okay. Yeah. Fast mode uses 200 credits. I guess quicker rendering. Access is part of a monthly subscription. A professional plan costs $250 a month, and you get around 14,000 credits. So, Aaron, you're the sucker. You could have done the video.
Yeah. Well, shoot.
Yeah.
Damn it.
One last thing, just and then we can wrap up. But you talked about spreadsheet and kind of like what you have in your spreadsheet, just in case it's helpful for anybody. My spreadsheet I can like say what's in my spreadsheet if that's helpful.
Yeah.
Give all the emails and names.
Yeah. Sounds good. I can't tell you how many people would probably be so pissed if I just gave it all away to them. But essentially it goes like, I say status, but that's like cold, warm, or hot. I say the company that they work for. And that's sometimes contrived. And the reason I have company is because if it's like somebody that works for an agency, they might be on like 5 or 6 different companies. And so it's like, okay, like this person would be the contact for that company. Just my brain works in the way of like searching a company, not like searching an agency. Like, I don't think like, oh, like if I want to talk to this brand, I need to talk to this agency. I think like that brand. So that's just my ability to search. First name, last name. I do the last time I talked to them. And then I put some notes of what we talked about. I have their email, phone number. I have, if we've connected on LinkedIn, connected on Instagram, and then additional notes. So Those
Cool.
are all the things that I have.
Yeah, useful.
Yeah, good stuff.
Useful.
Dalton, thank you. Thanks for joining us for a second time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good conversation.
Let us know where we continue to fall short.
Well, I think you guys did such a good job, and I mean, I hope this one lands. But
Yeah, definitely. I think it's testament to. I've listened to many podcasts where you're like, oh, I want to chime in. Like you're part. You feel like you're part of the conversation, but you're not, and then you're taking it one step further and becoming part of it. So
Yeah,
no, it's appreciated. It's good conversation for sure.
You know what I really want to do, and then we'll go for sure, is I want to take all, this is episode 299.
Whoa.
When we get to 300, I want to take all 300 episode transcripts
and make a
feed
mega
them.
blog.
No, yeah, just a huge meta blog. No, I want to feed it as knowledge into an AI model.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, this is all you know. Every transcript from every guest, every episode Aaron and I have done, put it into like an AI photographer, and then Aaron and I interview it.
That'd be kind of cool.
And just see what happens based on what 300 episodes have had to say with mostly guests. And
Wow.
just see how it responds.
I think that would actually be pretty cool.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
My only question would be, is it going to just like, because you're going to put, like, in my mind, you're putting all these into like ChatGPT, and then does it just read it in like a weird voice?
No, I think
so.
I think there's software where you can like create a virtual or a artificial person that
Right. Yeah.
I think responds in real time. I have to look into it. If you know,
I think
sure.
it'd be pretty. I would definitely listen to that.
I'm sure there's a way to do it. Like, imagine feeding it a proposal, like, or a budget, and being like, "Would you do this?" And they're like, "Hell no, I would not do that." Or just like something crazy like that, or "You dummy, get off Instagram." I think it'd be fun. We'll look into it.
Yeah, I'm into it.
If anybody knows how to help streamline that project, if it's your area of expertise, please reach out to us. But I think it's just feeding transcripts as knowledge as a knowledge base and going from there. But
I think it would definitely create a really good chatbot. I don't know how the interactive aspect, like if I just don't know how to do that.
I don't know either.
Yeah, if that could be created, though, that'd be like such a useful tool.
Hopefully, it wouldn't be like a giant echo chamber in the event that all of our advice is terrible and all of our guests' advice is terrible.
Yeah. Just regurgitates what we said.
Who has
Aaron,
the greatest
you
hair?
know, just like golfing.
Yeah, just like golfing.
Photography's like golfing.
Or it's like a relationship.
It's like dating a girl. Just click the shutter.
Like Seth says about running.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Okay. That's enough. Dalton, thank you. Appreciate it.